I'd like to introduce you to my friend Pete. He's a caveman. I call him Sneaky Pete. Now, you might not know this, but you've actually known him for your entire life because he lives in your brain. Well, at least he represents your caveman brain. He's the guy that's telling you to eat that second and third piece of cake, telling you to flip the bird at that driver who just cut you off. And sorry to say, but Pete's the guy helping you make huge life decisions. He's diluting your memory and keeping you distracted from important meetings and goals. Now, he might sound like a jerk, but I assure you, his heart's totally in the right place. He just doesn't know any better. And you need him. Sneaky Pete represents your primitive, biological, and evolutionary response to stress. Your fight or flight response. Something really valid back in his day when it was either fight, flight, or get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. His brain and body would jump into action, giving him the power to focus and to flee. And in a matter of 30 seconds or so, he'd play out the chemical reaction caused by stress, getting his body and brain back in balance. Pretty amazing, right? Now, Pete can do other things besides flee. He's really good at your protection, your survival, emotional drive, taking action. Now, the reason I call him sneaky is that he's got some downfalls. He really loves pleasure and can take an annoying amount of convincing to do anything difficult. He avoids pain at all costs and does not like change. And he's always looking for that quick payoff. You know, what's in it for me? Sneaky Pete is the voice in your brain whispering, "Go on, eat that piece of pizza." But here's the thing. Evolution takes time, and our brains and bodies are still wired to respond in the same way. We still need those caveman-esque bursts of energy to purge the stress chemicals and restore balance. When stress hits, our brain tells our pituitary gland to produce stress hormones like cortisol. And these cue the release of energy in the body as fuel for fighting or fleeing. And when we duke it out or run away, we burn off those stress hormones. The intense physical activity also produces other hormones like endorphins that calm us down and bring us back into balance. Fight, flight, balance. In a moment's notice. It's a beautiful thing. Obviously, we're not cavemen fleeing from danger, but we are constantly stressed from the moment we get up in the morning. We have kids, traffic, jobs, our health, and the effects from our stress can linger for years if we don't play it out. Keep this equation in the back of your mind. Stress plus appropriate physical activity equals balance restored. And generally speaking, we're not so good at this. And as a result, we're sitting in a prolonged stew of stress hormones, never really getting back in balance. But we can fix it by identifying how stress works and moving our bodies appropriately, building resiliency. And I'll show you how. Now, Sneaky Pete, your caveman brain, he's actually just part of the equation. Let me introduce you to my other friend, Lewis. He's a genius, and he also lives in your brain. So if Sneaky Pete is your caveman brain, Lewis is your advanced brain. He's really good at logic, problem solving, goal setting, and short bursts of force, all key for resiliency. We like Lewis. We want more of him. But he's not perfect either. He has a limited supply of self-discipline and willpower, and he gets easily derailed and overridden by emotions. And unfortunately, Sneaky Pete is much more powerful than Lewis and can shut him down when you need him the most. But it doesn't have to be that way. There are ways to train your brain to behave more like Lewis and less like Sneaky Pete. Or at least be able to summon Lewis or shoo off Sneaky Pete on your terms. Throughout these courses, I'm going to reference Sneaky Pete and Lewis, so be ready.